name is Eva Winifred Collins, and I was born in 1922 in SBUT. I was conceived on the way out from England. My mother and father came out after the war. My mother is English, my father is a second generation New Zealander, from Scottish people, and SBUT was a great place to be. Mother was quite shocked because she was told she had to go to a maternity hospital to have her baby that people didn't come and live in as she was used to knowing about in England, and it was a bit of a surprise to her. It was only prostitutes and such people who went to a hospital to have their babies. She met lots of folks there who she met later, and it was a good experience. And things all went naturally, so she felt very comfortable about it. My father was a crazy radio ham man, and she'd met him because she was a telegraphist in the post office, and she went to, because she was a bright, sparky wee girl at the age of 10, she was offered this chance to become apprentice, to become a telegraphist in the post office, and she took the opportunity and lived about 5 miles away on the south coast of England, and had this. When she got there, she found that she was just being used as a little help in the house. Thank you very much, looking after the children, the little children, and scrubbing and cleaning in the house. So she ran away, and she ran away home, and she told her parents about this. And father sent her straight back. He said, "You go straight back. Just don't worry. Just go straight back." So she ran straight back. He arrived the next morning, unexpectedly, and sure enough, there she was, scrubbing the front doorsteps. That man lost his licence for a post office, and she was then sent to Brighton and learned to be a telegraphist. And of course she could do Morse code during the war when my father was in England, and she helped him because he wasn't very fast with the Morse code, and so she could do it with no trouble. And when he had high school students who used to come to learn about radio things, because he really was passionately passionate about radio, and they'd sit round the table, and one time they were sitting round the table, and they one of them tapped out, "Isn't she sweet?" referring to a mother who was sitting quietly by the fireplace, and she just, after a wee while, very slowly patted on the wooden arm of her chair, a reply to them, very slowly so they could get it. And they found that she knew Morse code better than they did, a lot better than she did. And they did. Yeah. SBUT was a good little town, dead flat. I went to the local school, to the council school, and the borough school, which was by the riverbed. And by the time I got to Standard 6, which was my last year there, we had to sit proficiency exam to go on to high school, and a lot of the country schools were closed because during the war the staff weren't there to look after little kids and to be teaching little country schools, and so these children from the country were bussed in, joined our school, and we had, I think it was 72 children in our class in Standard 6. We had a brilliant teacher, but a very strict man, but he was a very, very good teacher, and a good deal of the time at the end of the year we were sent outside, the ones who were going to be to get through without having to sit the examination. it didn't need the extra tuition, so we were sent outside to garden in the gardens and do all sorts of things, any way to get rid of us for a while. The classroom was so packed with children that the teacher had to walk sideways down, so did we, between the aisles. But it was an interesting experience, and at the end of the year polio was raging in the country, and so we didn't have a break-up. The school was suddenly closed a little bit early. My little brother came running in from the kitchen to tell me that you're going to get some ducks. And I said, oh, that's nice, instead of chickens in the back garden. But I'd actually been lucky enough to be the girl, because there were so many children, we were divided up, and there was a boy ducks and a girl ducks, and I was the girl ducks. So we didn't have ducks quite, but I had a little label for it, and it was very nice to have. But went on to high school, and but only had 1 year there, and I got a bursary, was offered a bursary to go to Canterbury College School of Art to do a diploma of fine arts, and I think it was very unwise, but I did do it, and I was too young really. I wasn't quite 15, and the others had come from high school mostly, and had gone right through, and I missed all that time doing the high school work, which I really needed, I think, for the rest of my life. But anyway, you can get a little bit self-taught on the way, and I was interested in English and history and geography, and I suppose life teaches you a lot too. The School of Art, what used to be the Christchurch Boys High School in the early days, and it was now the School of Art, part of the campus of Canterbury College, which is now, of course, Canterbury University, and it was interesting because we were a little bit a part of the university as well, and had beautiful the lovely cod wrangle there, and we'd sit out there eating our sandwiches for lunch and meet up with other folks, and it was good. It just happened that because my father was so crazy on radio, he had a great big Atwater Kent radio in the lounge room, and I was busy, and the radio was on, blaring the news from the BBC. The BBC was always on, and because not many people got the news or that we could get on this BBC, the radio was blaring away. It must have been a lunchtime, I think, when the news came through that Britain had and France had joined with against Germany, and I was mending the sofa at the time. There was a little split broken on the side of one of the sofa, and so I quickly wrote a note and popped that in, and so somewhere in there is this little note for me about today the war is declared and so on, and I think all the people way down the street could have heard the radio too, because my father always turned it up loud so that people could hear it on the street, and they would often stop and listen to this news. All the boys I knew in my class were of age, I was 17, and they would be about the same age, and that's getting too near and too frightening, and we didn't know at that stage, but I knew a lot of boys were disappearing. They were all enlisting, and it was terrifying to think that those boys were going over there. We'd heard quite a bit about the First War, and I was really, really afraid that those boys would be lost, and such a lot of them were. The boy who was dux of the school sat across from me, across the aisle, and in standard 6, and he was a boy who was afraid of water, and he was the only boy in the school who had special dispensation not to go swimming when we all went swimming. And that boy was a pilot in the Air Force, and he was killed in the Pacific Ocean because the plane was shot down by the Japanese. And I agonise still for that boy, because he was such a bright boy, and it was such a sad thing to think that that boy, all his life, had had this fear of water, and that he would have drowned. I just hope that he was killed, that he didn't drown, because it was just too horrible to think of. But New Zealand, the numbers of population, sent more young people to war in Europe for that war than any country in the world, and the largest number died. So we lost more people in population than anywhere in the world in that war. A very sobering thought. I was of two minds about the atomic bomb. It worried me to think that people had progressed so cleverly with science and mathematics to be able to make atomic bombs, but the damage that they could do was terrifying. And I'm just sorry that the Emperor of Japan didn't take warning of the first bomb, that the second city was bombed as well. It was just, and I think they just delayed and didn't have time to see it properly, and of course they were all relying on the Emperor's word, and that was that. So but that was a great sadness to me too. I thought that was a terrible thing to happen. I was in Christchurch until I was 20. I'd finished my course and met my husband. I met him at a school initiation dance, and in the Great Hall, which has now just been fixed and just been opened, thank goodness, because it was a beautiful hall. Did lots of opera, lots of exams in that hall, and borrowed somebody's lovely gown to wear, and stayed behind instead of going home to Christchurch, to Ashburton in the weekend, and went to this ball, and I met this man who asked me to dance, and I knew instantly, this is a man I love and I could marry, just like that. He was no good at dancing. After a little while I said, would you like to sit it out now, have a wee rest, because I was counting for him. He just had no idea of rhythm. Anyway, that didn't matter. I loved dancing, but I didn't mind, and we got along very well, and were married in February the next year, when I was just turning 20. It just turned 20, and we had a very happy life together. He was brilliant, with an IQ way up here somewhere. He was a free thinker. He was not a man's man. He was not a yes man. He was a very honourable man, and he was a pacifist, and he declared that straight away, and he was immediately told that they needed him and wanted him in the Ministry of Works, where he worked designing dams and things in New Zealand, and so all through the war his salary was cut to below below any soldier, and until the last soldier got home. So we lived on the smell of an oily rag for many years, and we felt that was fair enough. But it was not always easy, because I really wasn't truly pacifist. I knew that if somebody attacked my babies, I would fight back, because I'm just made like that. I'm a tough Scotsman. There's a lot of Scotch in me, and they're a bit ferocious. But he was a wonderful man, and he was retained after he retired at the age of 60, which civil servants did, and but he had an operation for a blocked carotid artery, and unfortunately died. His heart, it was not strong enough, and he just died. But he was a wonderful man, and I have really wonderful memories. Such huge changes in society. Some things for the better and some things for worse. I still have faith in humans. I still think there's more goodness than badness in the world. And we keep hoping, don't we, that our world will stay and grow and advance.